Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today is the fourth day, or night the fourth, of our countdown until the Mandalorian Season 2 releases. Over the next 2 nights, I'm going to release the top 5 theories and or questions that Season 1 left us with, or perhaps only left me with. We will see in the comments. Some of them Season 2 will probably answer, some might wait for Season 3. However, as they appear more complex than a mere season can reveal, we might drag these mysteries out even further. With that being said, let's jump right in. Question number 4. Is the rest of the Navaro Mandalorian covert dead or alive? At the end of Season 1, our beloved Mando Din Djarin returns to Navaro only to find a pile of armor where he left his covert. The only Mandalorian left to ask why this happened, to ask what Din deemed worthy of all this destruction, is the Athena-like armorer, and she is the only one there to melt down the armor. It is a tragic scene, but what do we really know about what happened? Not that much, as it turns out. But first, the same day that Season 2 Episode 1 airs, my Indiegogo campaign winds down for Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data. If you want to explore a universe where all of the aliens are cute and prone to cuddling the big scary humans, go check out my book at the link below the video. Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data. But what data do we have about what happened to the covert? The first reaction on seeing the massive pile of armor on the floor is horror. Empty armor means dead soldiers in pretty much every scenario that jumps to mind, either in real life or in fantasy or science fiction. In this case, dead Mandalorians from the Navaro covert. I think a mass grave was what we all assumed when Din Djarin and company stumbled down into the sewers. And that is a very real possibility given what we know about this world. The lack of any bodies or body parts is hardly telling. With a very nearly literal liver sticks just around the corner of the covert, it is no stretch to assume that the muscle-heavy armorer, grimly and with a perfect standard of sanitation, disposed of the fallen bodies of her patchwork family. One can almost imagine her tenderly lifting the fallen in her arms and carrying them down to the river of lava before lowering into the liquid flame. Perhaps she stands guard over the bodies until they sink fully into the lava, so that those very eager lava otters don't try to make a meal of them. On the other hand, we saw no bodies and the armorer was alive. If there was some kind of last stand in the covert where every other Mandalorian fought to their last breath, I don't see the armorer as the kind of Din mother who would willingly outlive her covert. The fact that she lives suggests that at least some of the covert, if not most of them, survive. I mean, I assume that the helmet that had the blaster bolt through the eye lost its occupant, but the rest of the armor wasn't in that bad a shape. It was just off of its respective Mandalorian. Now, we know that if a Mandalorian, at least one of this particular covert, which has strong ties to the Death Watch, lets their helmet be removed, they are considered disgraced and they can never put their helmets back on. Now, this would imply a different story. This implied that the Imperials, either on Werner Hershog's orders or Moff Gideon's orders, or some combination thereof, marched down into the covert and went through removing all of their armor. Now, this could have gone down in several different ways, but most involved a prolonged firefight and a lot of damage all around. A lot more damage than we saw. However, a full frontal assault would have been counterproductive on many levels. A lot of Imperials would have died. It would have given the Mandalorians a chance to evacuate. Werner Hershog's didn't have that many Imperials to send down after the Mandalorians in the first place, and whatever Moff Gideon was really looking for might have been damaged or destroyed in the carnage if it was still down there. And do not forget which Mandalorians they were facing. All of the Mandalorians who would have willingly exchanged their current lifestyle for a different existence probably did a long time ago. These are the hardcore survivors. While some of the Mandalorians might have fought to a standstill and then agreed to remove their helmets in exchange for their lives, it would have been very few. What makes far more sense is a sneak attack. The downside of that sewer-based covert was that the Empire could have released a gas or electromagnetic-based incapacitating agent, something that would have put the covert to sleep so that the Imperials could go down and dehelm them one at a time at their leisure. I think this explains what we saw in the remains of the covert the best. Whatever the incapacitating agent would have been, it was almost a given that some of the Mandalorians would have had counters to it in their armor. But even those that did have the ability to fight the incapacitation would not have been fully functional, leading to a very brief and one-sided fight. Probably the armorer, who would naturally have the best and most functional armor, would have been the only one to fully protect it, explaining why she was the only one still standing. And she might have then snuck off, or maybe even just remained hidden in her forge. Of course, There is one more option that readily springs to mind. It is the really, really dark theory that explains everything very easily. You see, way back in Rebels, we saw that horrific Mandalorian crisping weapon that Sabine had invented and Thrawn brought to fruition. Now, back then it was a massive experimental weapon that could not have been deployed in such a tight space. However, in the intervening time frame between then and the Mandalorian, knowing that the Empire actively attacked Mandalore and won it, it is only reasonable to assume that the Empire developed and miniaturized the Beskar zapping weapon. It is reasonable it would explain how the Empire has so much Beskar and so few Mandalorians, and it would explain some other things. If Moff Gideon were now sure that Din Djarin had the thing he wanted, and that it wasn't down in the Covert, he could have easily ordered Werner Hershog to get rid of such a glaring liability. This might explain why the armor in her forge were left undamaged. The forge is a big circular room that might have been grounded and protected her like a Faraday cage, and that would explain why she was the only one who was spared, and why, too, she wasn't just shot. If such a thing happened, the Empire would have just dropped the weapon into the tunnels and wouldn't have bothered checking to see that everyone was gone. Behavior that is in line with the abject poverty of professionalism we see in the stormtroopers on Navaro. That is, unfortunately, a very likely explanation, but not one that I like, and this is my video, so I say I like the one where they were incapacitated by gas or electromagnetics, and the stormtroopers took off their helmets, and the armor avoided it by being a sneaking ninja. And Din and Baby Yoda are going to find the de-helmed Covert somewhere else in the galaxy far, far away, living happy lives. Maybe the heavy infantry Mandalorian with the Gatling gun hooked up with the lady that Din left behind on the Krill planet. Anyway, reporting from the State of Denial is your analyst, Betty Adams. So what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Leave a like if you agree, and leave a comment breaking my theory like a Mandalorian and Beskar if you have a theory of your own. Go check out Humans Are Weird. I Have the Data, a book of human absurdity. Fun science fiction for you when you run out of Mandalorian episodes to watch. Peace out, my wonderful viewers. And that is our dose of daily weirdness for today. If you found that you like what you heard, wander on over to Indiegogo and purchase a copy of Humans Are Weird. I Have the Data. The link is below. If you don't want to purchase the book or find you can't at the moment, share this around if you think it's worth sharing. Hit up Facebook, Tumblr, whoever. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next chapter.